sovereign and independent people of the United States, a Virginian, Minnesotan, Texan, etc. 2. While still a baby in your cradle, uniformed officers, in quotes, conscripted into the United States Army or the U.S. Army, who appear to be civilian doctors, improperly seize upon your name and estate and coerce your mother to sign a false information to the effect that you are a U.S. citizen, the same political status you would have if you were a Puerto Rican born in Puerto Rico or one of the other insular territories like Guam. Number 3, this status as a territorial citizen, in quotes, obligates you to serve the government and obey its every whim, to be defined as a taxpayer and subjected to selective service, and to need a license, which is official permission to do something that is otherwise illegal, for things like getting married or traveling in your car from point A to point B. It also subjects you to the foreign British equity law and territorial court system, which is rigged against you so that the British affiliated Bar Association members can rule against you 97% of the time via the abundant use of their judicial discretion. Number 4, throughout your life these vermin misinform you either deliberately or in ignorance themselves and tell you that you have to have a Social Security number, you have to have a driver's license, you have to have a marriage license, and you obediently do what you are told. Every time you do, you again unwittingly confirm that you are a U.S. citizen and effectively bear false witness against yourself and against your own interests, just to get along and survive in this ugly horror show world they have created. Number 5. Here's the first take-home message, campers. You are not a citizen of anything. Citizens serve the government. Nationals have the government serve them. So which one are you?
So that's what I wanted to stop at, because that stopped me dead in my tracks as I was working. I heard her mention that, because this is an article that's supposed to be written from a judge at one time. All right, and I'm telling you, and the last name, right? I'm questionable, but that's another subject. But what I'm talking, well, let me get back to this before I lose track. But being a citizen means that you answer to the government, right? But being a national has the government serve them. Now think about something. Think about something. They call themselves white nationalists, right? Doesn't that strike you as odd? All of a sudden, you and me, the so-called black man, the so-called black woman, the so-called African American, who court cases prove, their own court cases prove that that people that they give rights to come over here, they don't believe that they're even Africans. Hold on, I don't want to jump the gun, but I mean, check this out. Check this out. All right.
Are a mixture of the three colonial populations: Europeans, Africans, and Native Americans. But the United States is unique.
But these are just court cases.
A distinct endogamous genetic enclave of mostly African appearance. This leads to conflict between dichotomous myth and genetic reality. The dichotomous myth is that every American is either of the black race or not, with no ambiguity nor middle ground. The genetic reality is that virtually all black Americans carry genetic markers from European colonial ancestors, and about 1/3 of white Americans show detectable genetic markers from African slave ancestors.
But it's all backwards, just like Deuteronomy said, you become the tail, they'll become the head. If you are first, even in their stupid biology books that whatever came out of the water, learned to walk, and it became an ape, and then became a black person, then became a European, and the closer you become to European, white and European, the closer you come to the image of God, which makes no sense at all. But somehow, with this logic, they're saying that you were here first, they were last, and somehow you're not indigenous. Somehow you were here first, but you're just an animal. Somehow they're indigenous and they were here last. And now they have the right to tell you who and what you are and what you're not. Get this. These are court cases he's going to mention. It's going to blow your mind, blew my mind.
As with most disputes, this conflict between myth and reality is resolved by the courts. Since colonial times, about...
Hold on, let me stop this so we can get a good look at that. Because what I've been learning to do is look this stuff up and start taking this stuff down and printing it off and keeping it in a folder. Everything that, if someone's going to put it out there, keep it.
Appealed court cases have been held to decide an American's race. Why is this necessary? What yardstick do they use? Before the 1950s...
Let's stop here. Be sure we all get a good look at that here.
5265 Civil Rights Movement. Such trials were held to decide if you could incur slavery's burden of proof, marry, testify, attend school, vote, inherit, commit slander, carry a weapon, or incur carrier liability. Nowadays, the most frequent reason is to determine entitlement, affirmative action, workplace discrimination, residential discrimination, facts and hearings. Throughout the 19th century, courts used 3 rules to determine race: appearance, whether you looked black, blood fraction, how many black grandparents you had, and association, which community accepted you.
Now that's the one I want you to focus on, because this is where it's going to get caught up. Which community accepts you? Now you're going to realize, now you're going to start to realize something. If these, so people at the top, these so-called black celebrities, black actors and entertainers, actresses, and, you know, and models, when they start to separate themselves from their people, right? Or the people that you would say, oh, you know, we identify as, you know, it's the same. You're going to see why. Right? Check this out.
Used the one-drop rule from the start of the Jim Crow era to the mid-1980s. But the one-drop rule fell out of fashion in court about 30 years ago, with the Louisiana case of Mrs. Susie Fitz. She was a woman who had considered herself white all her life, as did her husband, relatives, and friends. But when she checked off white on a passport application, the clerk rejected it, saying that she looked like she had a touch of black blood. She sued and lost. She appealed and lost again.
So when she checked white on her passport, they said, no, you look like you got black blood. You know, no, you're denied. Now this is where it's really good to learn, in my opinion, you know, some of the things that Chief Nanya is teaching. I mean, we all of us won't agree on everything. And I'm not saying go with what he's, you know, teaching, but how do you put in the words? I like to do this. I like to listen to people, period. I like to take in what they're teaching if they want to teach you. I jot down notes, you know what I'm saying, so later on I can apply these things. I'm not going to be that person that, oh, well, we said this, you got to do it this way, so let's jump in this boat right here. Because it seems like when you jump the gun, you get screwed. I mean, I remember a while back, the Moors were all talking about, oh, get in your sovereign citizen, get in your sovereign, no, maybe not citizen, but it had something to do with getting into your sovereign. You know, you got to get into your, you know, your right, you know, estate and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden they quit talking about sovereign. Now we know why they quit talking about sovereign. But still, you take in that information and you apply these things. You don't always have to agree with everything everyone's teaching. But don't ignore them just because you don't agree with them. Take the information and use this later on. You know what I'm saying? And then give credit where credit is due. But I'm just saying, like, we don't always got to come along and be, you know, hey, we got to be this or we got to be that. We got to be here, we got to be here. Take the information and use this. Build upon it. Because when Nanya L, you know, starts teaching you about, you know, the ways that if they're still using color against you, you know what I'm saying? This is big offense. Like, he breaks it down perfectly. Just check this out, though.
According to Louisiana's one-drop rule law, the only defense against an accusation of black blood was to show that you had no African ancestry forever. This is impossible.
Yeah, this is impossible because even the Europeans trace their lineages back to the Africans. So who comes up with this stuff? And they're not even Europeans.
Given that you had 1,000 ancestors 10 generations ago in 1800, and 1 million ancestors 20 generations ago in 1600, she went to the U.S. Supreme Court and
lost
once and for all. According to the Supreme Court, racial classification was not a federal issue.
Supreme Court, the racial classification is not an issue. So who do you take that to?
The one-drop rule has never been argued successfully in court. Instead, courts today rely on acceptance by the leaders of the African American ethno-political community.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? The courts are lazy as heck. They're relying upon black, so-called black leaders to identify who's black. Did you hear that? Check this out.
You are accepted by local black leaders, then you are legally black.
If you are accepted by the local black leader, then you are legally black. Do you hear that?
No matter what you look like, no matter your documented ancestry, no matter your...
Now, how is that possible? No matter your documented ancestry. So you can be pulling up all this stuff. You can put in the work like my sister's putting in all this work. She finds out we got an uncle from Alaska who had Indian on his birth certificate. Blue eyes and all this stuff, but he looks like a black man. So if those bought off leaders of the NAACP or NAACP or whatever you want to call it are sitting up there and they say, oh, you're black, then the courts are going to say, because the courts are going to say, yes, you're black. So I'm literally gonna be I'm in a fight with people who are paid off to say that I'm black. Check this out. It gets even better.
DNA, no matter your own choice of self-identity. On the other hand, if you are rejected by local black leaders, then you are not legally black, no matter what you look like. No matter your documented ancestry. So
OJ's sitting up there saying, I'm not black, I'm OJ. And everybody getting all mad. Oh my gosh, how did OJ do? What's wrong with OJ? How can he not be black? He up there in Hollywood. He got in there with them white girls. He around all them Jews, man. That's why, man. OJ was pulling the wool over all of our eyes. Because if the black leaders are so offended, because you know how they are, they emotionally, wound up. It's like they took their heavy doses of estrogen. They trying to go around find anybody that's going to be selling estrogen on the street corner. They going to get it in good, take their baths in it, put it in their shampoo, seeps into their pores, put it in their deodorant so it gets in their body good. They just want to be all emotional. They don't want to research anything. They like their money and they just like their estrogen. Give them both of them and they be fine. And they're going to sit up there and oh my gosh, OJ says he's not black. Why would he do that? OJ was winking and pulling the wool over all of us. Now we know why. Because if they reject him as black and say he's not a black man then, he's OJ, right? Then OJ gets to classify himself as whatever he wants. Check this out. Check this out. Check this out. This is terrible. This is terrible. Check this out.
No matter your DNA, no matter your own choice of self-identity. Here are 3 cases showing how racial classification works today. Mustafa Hefni, Mary Christine Walker, and twin brothers Philip and Paul Malone. Mustafa Hefni was a businessman in Detroit. He was an immigrant from Africa, from Egypt in fact. And he was working towards natural...
He was from Egypt. Now Egypt, they say, well, on those ports, that if you come to America, you're classified as white.
Legalization as U.S. citizen. He heard that the Federal Small Business Administration was granting loans to black-owned businesses. He applied, but he was turned down on the grounds that he was not black. The Small Business Administration's explanation, according to the Detroit office, is that black loans are intended only for those whose ancestors suffered under slavery and the Jim Crow era. They said that Hefni could not simply waltz in from Africa and claim to be black.
You hear that? He can't walk in from Africa and just claim to be black. Wait a minute. I thought that you said, the court records say, that if you have any black African ancestry, you're just black. So what's the checker game? What's the bar holes that you're keeping around us here in North America? Huh? Think about it. You can't come in from Africa and be a part of this game. You got to be born here to be under these titles. You got to be born here to be under this game. Tell me that you don't have Satan sitting on top of your throats. You so-called black man, you so-called black woman. That is evil. That is messed up.
He demanded a formal hearing and lost. The excuse changed during the hearing, however. The court ruled that federal regulations forbid immigrants from North African nations, including Egypt, from calling themselves black, no matter what they look like.
Right.
Here are the actual regulations.
Right, and this is stuff that Nanya L pointed out to us. When you check in, was it white? They tell you that North Africa, Egypt, that's all considered white to them. There's a game to it, man. There's a game to it, but I'm just saying, here's a whole list of these. It just gets. I don't mean to get pissed off, but I mean eventually you got to get pissed off over some of this stuff, and it's a righteous pissed off. And that's it. Look, that's what I'm talking about. Look at that. Nationalism, right? And I knew that all of a sudden something happened because they changed. They quit from talking about being sovereigns and stuff like that to all of a sudden being nationals. And now you know why, because if it's a sovereign, you still work for the government. You still answer to a government. Let me see. I had stuff pulled up in this one, didn't I? Let me see here. I'm not even sure. I had stuff pulled up on this one. Some interesting words. Here it is. Here's some phrases like this will always stick out. You're supposed to have the right of a king and queen to rule. And I started noticing something that there was one of those Jade Helm 15 videos, I think it was, or the videos that came out after it. I'm trying to find it. There was dudes that were from the military. Some were dressed as civilians, others were dressed in their military gear, and they, one was running. The guy in the civilian clothes is running, and the guy in the military gear catches him and he puts him on the ground and handcuffs him, and he's yelling, "I'm a sovereign! I'm a sovereign! I'm a sovereign!" And the guy in the military gear says to him, "There's no such thing as a sovereign anymore." And I thought that was interesting now because you thinking back on that video. Is this what the Moors might have learned and decided we don't want to be sovereigns, we're going to be nationals? Because what did it say back here? What did it say back there? A national has the government serve them. Here's the first take-home message, campers. You are not a citizen of anything. Citizens serve the government. Nationals have the government serve them. And this goes back to, like I said, one of the websites that, here, Lex Will has already pointed out to us that we need to be on and looking at, going through here, pulling this stuff up, reading this stuff, because it's going to help. Right here, look here. Looks like it'll be an interesting one. Ooh. Jewish faith and the Roman Catholic Church and the Eastern Orthodox faith have asked me, why would God choose a woman to act as a, I don't know. That'll be something interesting to pass on to my sister. Anyways, let me see here. Yeah, this chick, she got some interesting videos. There was one where it talks about the corporate, I mean, there's several. There's one where she actually talks about how the United States stole a fraud system from what's his name, Al Capone and his lawyers, and basically how they were using that to become their new fraud system. How no cities and no cities and nothing, they're not bankrupt. They've lied to us about your town. You might live in Buffalo and they're telling you Buffalo's bankrupt. They're lying. What they did was the public account is bankrupt. The private, where they've been stashing this money, it's doing just fine. And we've never knew that there was a private side of it that we should have been asking for. And that's why, they get away with what they get away with. That's how they can afford that. Seems like they never go out, bankrupt, these senators, these governors and stuff like that. But they tell us that they're so broke and, we get taxed or we find new ways to make sure we can pay, the debt. And it's not even honest. They're lying about the whole thing. Let me see here. And Judge Joe Brown, this guy had some interesting things to say. I can't play this whole video; it's just way too long. But there was one point where he said some certain interesting stuff about him being a Native American, which I had no idea because you don't hear that stuff brought up. But he was talking about the Jews at one point, and I'm gonna do a video where I'll just figure out where the certain moments that I thought were interesting. But yeah, he gets into it about the Jews, how the Jews needed us basically to get our rights, because whatever rights that we could acquire, then they acquired. Because basically whatever, like if they could hang us, then they could hang a Jew. Like is what Joe Brown was saying. And then it goes, and it gets even worse, because then it's like whatever rights that we acquire, the Jews acquire, and then animals could acquire. So that's how messed up the system was. But it was all through the civil rights. So I'm just giving you a heads up. I'm gonna do that. Plus, I'm gonna mix it in with this video from an ex-Satanist, because when Judge Joe Brown starts talking about the male masculine appearance is being taken away, how everything is feminized, on the males are being feminized, and it's going in line with this. What this Satanist explains is what Satanists are doing. Period. They are I don't know where this is all coming from, but I mean, I'm just doing this stuff because it's coming to me. And I'm telling you, there's a lot to this. I don't know how to put it into words, but you think of a Satan and you don't really think about him, having much to do with us, because we got other stuff going on. We got, Azazel. We got all this other stuff that we're looking into. But at the same time, in the background, they're talking about the Satanists and how, everything that they're doing, even though they're not saying they're doing it to the black man and the black woman, or so-called black man, black woman, but it's affecting us. When the Satanists are talking about, they're trying to take away all the masculine energy, that the only ones that have masculine energy are males at the top, their top. That all the men that are down here on our level, around us, are all feminized, right? And right now they're pushing it as it's a good, it's this good thing, You start seeing all these cases where it's coming out and you're like, okay, all of a sudden so-and-so's getting busted for, this, and so-and-so's getting busted for that, which you rightfully show. But you got to ask yourself, it's all these people there's these celebs that are getting busted. You know what I mean? That just doesn't happen. That doesn't happen where all these women just come out at once and just say, hey, he was doing this and doing this. It's like all of a sudden, and we get all these answers, oh, well, it's this and this and this. And the Satanists explaining, nah, it's more than just that. It goes into they're unleashing this stuff because they want to use that against us. Just like at one point in time, they used too much male masculine energy to do what they did. And we see it. We see when they came here, the slaughtering. I mean, you can't, just from the years of it. The years of it. I know women were involved, but I'm saying, think about when the conquistadors got here and all the things that they did. Think about what the Scottish had done when they got here. The Irish, all of them. I got videos coming. Believe me, I'm back. I got them coming.